I gotta punctuate it. I said I loved your shirt, but behind your back I said I hate it. The lightning strike me down, if I lied, me no one be around when my tongue's untied. Everybody says it's okay, all the little things I say with my big fat mouth. La 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 la. With my big fat mouth.
My big fat mouth gets me in trouble.
My big fat mouth gets me in trouble. For the last final time of our 4-week series, we show that little video. If you want to see it again, you have to go to YouTube. But welcome to River's Edge today. As Jacqueline already said, our crew is getting pretty thinned out chasing around the world. Charlie's doing a wedding, so I went with Ryan as a backup speaker today to finish our series, and he's been so sick all week. When I got back from my week up north at Boyne with my family, where I schooled them winning mini games against them, I called Ryan and said, okay, how much prep have you really done? He'd been so sick, and I just got my legs sawed off, put back on. I'm fine. I could do this. So the choice was he would really appreciate not having to speak. So here I am, 2.5 weeks after knee replacement surgery. We're doing great, so thanks for those who have prayed. Your prayer has made it possible to have a sermon today. Finishing this series, first time I've preached sitting down since my knee surgery in 2003. But we're going to finish the series anyway. My big fat mouth. I walked out 3 weeks ago when we started with complaining. I said, has there ever been a time when you had the thought, I wish I could take that last sentence back? And there are a lot of nods back then too. And that's really, I think, the crux of this whole series. The reality is, as the video 4 straight weeks we've started with this said, my big fat mouth gets me in trouble. So maybe it was through complaining, and we talked about 3 weeks ago how contagious that is and how important it is to shift our perspective about the things we can't change. Life is 10% what happens to me, 90% how I respond. So maybe it's time to start looking at the positive side of life. The glass is half full, not half empty, as it's so easy to get stuck in the mold of. So if you really do that, or Philippians 2:14 says, do everything without complaining or arguing. A big goal, but if you find yourself pushed that direction, you will be a lot happier. And probably the people around you will be a lot happier too. Chase, the second week, went into criticizing. Has the same kind of snowball effect, I think. I think it's contagious. Again, you start thinking negative and complaining, you think negatively as you criticize other people. And as you pick on them, as you put them down, crazy thing, as we usually say, by putting them down, we feel bigger somehow. And that's just kind of a sick way of looking at life. And instead, Chase challenged us to be hope dealers, not drug dealers. Hope, actually deal hope to people. So when you talk to them, you're not putting them down, making them feel bad. You're actually lifting them up, encouraging them in some way. Last week, Charlie went with lying. It can be in little white lies, exaggerating, so many different ways it shows up. But the fact is, anything less than truth gets us stuck in a mold of trying to protect our lies, cover our lies with more lies. It's far from what Jesus said, the truth will set you free. We're preparing for today. We're into several Proverbs. I came across one about truth. Proverbs 12:19 says, truthful words stand the test of time, but lies are soon exposed. The truth finds you out, so to speak. But truthful words stand the test of time. So this week, this is what I wanted Ryan to preach. We get to gossip. Hard to go there without meddling in your life, isn't it? The dictionary definition says gossip is idle. That kind of means unnecessary words. Idle talk or rumors specifically or especially about the personal or private affairs of others. Sticking your nose in where it doesn't belong and sharing it with people that shouldn't know about it. Many of you right away go, how many of you say, I know some gossips? Yeah, come on, yeah. Mm-hmm. Maybe somebody honestly say, I was really hurt once by pure gossip. I mean, it really stuck with me. How many say, I gossip all the time? Just a trick question. But we probably should raise our hands, right? And the fact is, it is all around us, and it seems innocent. It used to be just Hollywood, People magazine. But now it seems so much more pervasive. And I think it's just like the complaining or criticizing, it's the downward spiral of just getting stuck of always sticking your nose in and talking about other people. I think half our news cycles are not much more than gossip. Taking a partial truth, perhaps, but blowing it into something and implying that something that's not even true. And it's very easy to get stuck in that. So I think today, when we ask the question, why is gossip become such a big deal? The Bible does give us one really good word picture just to start our conversation. It's in Proverbs 18:8. It says this: rumors are dainty morsels that sink deep into one's heart. A lot of times in the Old Testament, heart can be translated just as easily bowels, or just down your gut. It's the real you down deep, what makes you tick. And he's saying, gossip literally can affect your entire being. And sure enough, we did some research. I think Charlie mentioned some stuff last week about lying. I know I mentioned some stuff about complaining. Our mouth can create such tension in our lives, trying to cover up the things we've said, that it does affect us health-wise. And this proverb kind of predicts that, or says that that's true. It sinks deep into one's heart. I love the way the Message translation puts it. It says this: listening to gossip is like eating cheap candy. Do you really want junk like that in your belly? So it translates the heart as gut or belly. Do you really want junk like that? Which just led to such an obvious illustration. Circus peanuts. How'd you know that, Jim? Exactly true. I resisted only in part because I don't want to crutch out to my car to drive to the store to get circus peanuts. Pastor was gone yesterday. And in part, because here's the truth. This proverb is true. Had I bought a bag of circus peanuts for this illustration today, could have opened it, ate one. They did it for some sermon a couple years ago. I would have eaten the rest of the bag. Not during the sermon. I probably could have got through the sermon. But if you stop by later in the day and say, hey, how's the leg doing, Trent? There'd be an empty bag sitting next to my lazy boy. I've eaten a whole bag just editing some Camp Life curriculum before. I only did that once, because I did kind of, what does this say? Feel sick in your, junk like that in your belly? Yeah, it just kind of, even my very high tolerance of sugar and sweets just didn't feel really good. So that time I remember doing it. I literally got the bag out of the trash and read the ingredients. First of all, a serving size is 4. Are you kidding me? That's not even a warm-up. But the whole bag, and I don't remember now, was so many grams of sugar. I quickly drank a whole glass of water and just thanked the Lord I wasn't in a coma. So I haven't eaten a whole bag since. But what a strong word picture in Scripture that, gossip, it kind of, you take that first bite, you can't stop eating just one. You finish the whole bag and you've got stomachache. It affects you all. What a great word picture. And so gossip is just like that, biting into that circus peanut. You can't eat just one. If it's not circus peanuts for you, I could have gone with peanut M&Ms probably. And you got a whole other cross-section of the crowd, right? Those party-sized bags they have? Never mind. So we can chuckle because a lot of times gossip's kind of thrown out there and just kind of a casual, oh, did you see so-and-so? They do it. It's not totally disruptive, but really not very often, it's really not very funny. And underlying, I think there's more animosity meant, even if you don't stop to intentionally think, I'm going to be mean right now and talk about somebody. It's not very often positive when we're talking about somebody. So it becomes even more contagious maybe than complaining and criticizing can be, almost like a piranha effect. They really start attacking somebody, at lunch with 4 or 5 people, they all just kind of dive in and just start devouring them. Christians cleaned it up a little bit. We don't gossip. We spiritualize. We call it prayer requests. I saw Zion the other day, and he and so-and-so were walking into such and such. They're probably doing so-and-so. Now, I don't know if any of that's true, but I start making up and thinking things, and then that spreads, and all of a sudden it gets to, in our day and age, if it hits Facebook once, somebody in Germany is calling Zion and said, hey, I heard you're gambling, man. it really can catch up with us. And certainly calling it a prayer request. You can pray for them without spreading untruth. Or we rationalize it. Say, hey, it's true. I heard Zion lost 10,000 last week. We really got to come around a brother and support him and pray for him. Well, maybe you should go to your brother first. We'll get that in a second. And not spiritualize it, because just because it's true, it doesn't have to be said. In fact, someone said, everything that is said should be true. That's lying last week. But not everything true must be said. So don't fall under that lie of, well, I'm just telling the truth. Doesn't mean it needs to be said to those people right now about that other person. It's great to ask, is it true? But we also should ask, is it necessary to share right now? Is it helpful in this situation with these people to share it? If not, you might save yourself a whole lot of pain. You go, well, what kind of pain? Well, that's kind of where we're going today. Just two questions. First of all, who does gossip hurt? Just in case you're not convinced, gossip would be a good thing to check in your life. But then also, how do I go about controlling it? So if you're taking notes, 3 things gossip hurts, then 2 ways to control it. So space your page accordingly. Here we go. Who does gossip hurt? Gossip hurts the person it's spoken about, obviously. And again, it would be interesting if we're sitting around our Connect groups. We don't have those this week. We might even ask, when's the time someone spread something about you, a rumor that really hurt? How long did that last? Is it still affecting relationships today? Because often it does. The fact is, the relationships can be impacted forever. It says it hurts the person it's spoken about. Proverbs 16:28 says, a troublemaker plants seeds of strife. Gossip separates the best of friends. Gossip separates the best of friends. And sometimes that can be for a long time or for life. And again, many of you would have stories of maybe years ago when someone shared with people who you liked or didn't like, or something within the office confines and some kind of story, or just a splash something on Facebook that was embarrassing to you. We remember those kind of things. It hurts deep. Certainly way different than being a hope dealer to somebody, to talk about people like that, and saves us, as far as who it hurts, the embarrassment of trying to go back and cover that up when it comes back around. Ever get caught in that? Hey, did you really say this about me? That's a very uncomfortable conversation, always. Secondly, gossip hurts the listener. Sometimes you just think you're talking about Zion, but if there's 3 other guys at lunch with you, you're sucking them into it. And if it's not truth, that's slander. But even if it's truth, is it helpful in that situation? Or are you just making them turn to be negative people by throwing negative stuff out? The proverb here says, Proverbs 17:4, wrongdoers eagerly listen to gossip. Don't people just suck it up sometimes? Liars pay close attention to slander. And there's still this innate, I think, very negative, sinful attitude of, if I can find people I'm better than, that makes me feel good about myself, instead of really caring about maybe problems people have in their life. We've already said everything that is said should be true, but not everything true must be said. Another statement I came across is, what you permit, you promote. So if I'm with 3 other guys over here at Subway for lunch, talking about Zion's gambling problem, to my knowledge, Zion does not have a gambling problem, by the way. He's just sitting in the last service, it was Kelsey. This service, it's you. He's sitting down here in the front row. And it gets back. Maybe I'm not the one talking about it. Maybe someone else brings it up. Someone else chips in. The person said, I'm just eating my Subway. I'm thinking they shouldn't be talking about him like that, but I don't say anything. Later on, Zion comes up to me and goes, hey, were you at lunch and you guys were talking about my gambling problem? See, I'm thrown under the bus by being associated with it. So sometimes by not standing up to it, I'm actually promoting it. And anything I permit, I'm actually promoting, or I'm a part of it. So it does put us in a position to maybe take an opportunity to try to speak up and make a difference. And you go, well, I'm not exactly how I would do that. But it is our reputation at line, which this quote I came across. It says, talking badly about somebody else when they're not around says more about you than the person you're talking about. Wow. Talking badly about someone else when they're not around says more about you than the person you're talking about. And we'll get to a verse later, your reputation might suffer forever. So James comes along. Book of James, remember the brother of Jesus. Whole chapter 3 is about the tongue. So if you want extra credit devotional material this week, read James chapter 3. Just a great challenge of the tongue. He says there nobody can tame the tongue. It's just out of control. And he says it's a little thing, but it has a huge impact. He compares it to a bit in a horse's mouth, a rudder on a ship. This little rudder turns a huge ship, a spark that makes a great fire. He says the tongue is like that. It doesn't seem like any big deal, but it can make a big negative impact in our world. And he says nobody can control it when he gets help. Well, earlier in the book of James, back in chapter 1, before he even gets to that, verse 26, he says, if you claim to be religious, but don't control your tongue, you are fooling yourself. Your religion is worthless. And that's something that the value of your religion, your claim to have a relationship with God, might be impacted more than anything else by your mouth. Wow. Maybe it's time to watch that and ask the question, our second question of the day, how do I control gossip? I have two things, but I think it's worth thinking about. First one is this: guard your ears. You don't have to take it all in. Matter of fact, someone said, you can deflect gossip simply by asking a question. And I jotted theirs down, actually came up with two others. So 3 ways, at least, to deflect gossip. Someone comes up and says, hey, did you hear about Zion? First question, why are you telling me this? So someone comes up and says, man, I saw Zion just the other week. I said, before you go any farther, why are you telling me this? That makes the gossiper halt and go, yeah, I probably shouldn't be saying this. Yeah, that's exactly how gossip starts so often, isn't it? Probably shouldn't tell you this. But yeah, exactly. You shouldn't. Another thing, another deflection question could be, have you spoke with him about it? Hey, did you hear about Zion? I heard, no, wait, before you go any farther, have you talked to Zion about this? Or are you talking about it behind his back? But it doesn't have to be real sermonic or negative to the person. You're just helping them stop for a second, and you're helping them not have the negative impact of gossip, let alone you're not sucking yourself into it. Or thirdly, I love the deflection technique. It's not really a question. It's just say something positive. When they go, oh my gosh, you had Zion over the other night? He is such a know-it-all. He thinks he knows everything. I just wish he'd shut up. I go, I am really impressed by how much he knows. I think he reads a lot. He's taken a lot of classes, and I think I just enjoy being around him. I think I learn something every time. Matter of fact, it really encourages me to be a student too. You want to take a class with me? I mean, isn't that a totally different conversation? They're going, oh yeah, it drives me nuts. No, I think a lot of times there's a real positive spin we can put on someone even like the gambler know-it-all Zion. Matthew 18:15. It simply says this all as a scriptural idea. I mean, it's not just, hey, a sermon here, get rid of gossip, ask these clever questions Trent shared. Why are you telling me this? Have you talked to that person with it? How about saying something positive instead? Listen to Matthew 18:15. If another believer sins against you, go privately and point out the offense to them. It doesn't say immediately your next lunch at work, talk about them about it. Tell everybody about it. No, it says go privately and point out the offense. Hey, did you know that really hurt when you said? It's that easy. If the other person listens and confesses it or agrees with you, acknowledges, yeah, I shouldn't have said that, I'm sorry. The other person listens and confesses that you have won that person back. You're back into a relationship with someone that you could be literally at odds with for weeks, months, or even years. Some of you literally have people that maybe you haven't talked to for years. And it probably came down to a statement made at some point that probably wasn't true. Wow. Ultimately, Proverbs 20:19 also encourages this. You should maybe sometimes pick different people to hang around. I don't think I'd use this as a hammer against anybody. Well, Proverbs 20:19 says, a gossip goes around telling secrets. So don't hang around with chatterers. You gossip every time we have lunch, so go away. I don't think I'd say that. But I think you would take the responsibility, have the courage to go with one of these other questions to deflect to the gossip. Maybe call into question why they're doing that so much. And if it's a close friend, maybe the next step of actually saying, I think every single day we sit down at lunch, we start with a conversation about gossiping about someone else. Let's set a goal next week. This is Friday. Next week, every single day, we're not going to talk about a single person the entire lunch. Let's try that. Be a little more intentional about saying, I can guard my ears. I don't have to participate. I don't have to permit, therefore allow or promote things that simply aren't true. But you say, well, I guard my ears best I can, but I can't control everybody else. You're right. Guess what? You can control yourself. Now, James said no one can control your mouth, but that is just his teasing way of saying we need to trust God to help us do it. But if we control our mouth, good things happen. Proverbs 13:3 says, those who control their tongue will have a long life. Which I love this, how succinct Proverbs are, but that's true. The converse of a truth isn't always true, but does that mean if you flap your mouth all the time, you might shorten your life? You get punched in the face, at least it might hurt. Or, again, some of the science, biological, just the tension, stress it causes in our life, it does shorten our life. It's truth. It says, those who control their tongue will have a long life. Opening your mouth can ruin everything. That's worth putting on your fridge. Opening your mouth can ruin everything. So close your mouth. There's just times we need to do that. We're going to memorize a verse. It's Proverbs 21:23. We won't do this real often, but I think there's 12 verses in the sermon today. And if we did an exit poll at the door, the reality is if someone said, hey, what verse did you like best today? Some of you might remember 1. Some of you would remember 0 out of 12, which is really annoying for preachers. Spent all this time, all this research, and you don't remember a stinking thing we say. So this one might stick for a second, okay? It's Proverbs 21:23. It says, watch your tongue and keep your mouth shut. Sometimes the Bible just says it. Sometimes we try to be all nice and no, the Bible just says it. Watch your tongue and keep your mouth shut, and you'll stay out of trouble. It's that easy. The video starts, again, our video starter all month has said, my big fat mouth gets me in a lot of trouble. Probably comes right from this proverb. Watch your tongue, keep your mouth shut, you will stay out of trouble. Okay, this is what we're going to do. This section, you're going to say, watch your tongue. Say that. Watch your tongue. You can be a little bit more energetic. This section has keep your mouth shut. Keep your mouth shut. Very nice. This side has stay out of trouble. Stay out of trouble. So try to think about all of these as you say it. I'm going to test you at the door. This will be the first week I have people leaving by this door. Now, see if I can get this to sink in a little bit. It's true. Stay out of trouble. My big fat mouth gets me in a lot of trouble. If we could stay out of trouble, it'd be so much happier. So let's try it. Here we go. Ready?
Watch your tongue. Keep your mouth shut. Stay out of trouble. Watch your tongue. Keep your mouth shut. Stay out of trouble.
Go backwards. It works. Everybody say all through. Ready? Watch your tongue. Keep your mouth shut. Stay out of trouble. It's true. The Bible tends to be true. We could avoid so much trouble. Just think if you eliminate complaining, criticizing, lying, and gossiping, how much smoother, at peace, less troublesome your life might be. You wouldn't have to apologize. You wouldn't have to go back to people saying, yeah, I did sit there at that table at lunch and we're talking about, I'm really, how uncomfortable that can be. You wouldn't have to rationalize. Oh, yeah, I said that about Zion. I'm really sorry. Matter of fact, he was just going there to pass out Bibles to people at the casino. So I kind of misunderstood that. I'm really, really sorry. That's uncomfortable to have those conversations. They're totally unnecessary if we just tell the truth. You won't have to agonize over coming up with the opportunities to have those conversations, to apologize and rationalize. You won't lay asleep at night going, oh, I shouldn't have said that. If they hear that, they're going to be so ticked at me. I need to go talk to them before it gets back to them, but I don't want to talk to them. It's going to be so hard. Well, how would I bring that up? They're going to be really mad. They won't give me my paycheck. Or, I mean, depending on who the person is, some of these are really tough decisions. And all that agonizing is simply because you did not watch your tongue, close your mouth, and stay out of trouble. Pastor's gone a few weeks ago. I went to Arby's for dinner. And it's obviously Arby's classic small mozzarella sticks, medium Jamocha shake. That is a meal. And I was the only one in the eating inside. So I was sitting there kind of enjoying the quiet, and then one other couple did come in, and they were obviously way too far in love. I mean, I wanted to say, get a room. I mean, they sat down, her back was to me, he's sitting, 90 degrees, so she kept leaning over, playing with his hair, and it makes me jealous. Whispering stuff in his ear, kissing him on the cheek, and rubbing his leg. I mean, I was choking on those cheese stick things. And I'm watching this whole thing. I mean, these guys are in their 40s. I'm not talking about teenagers. So I'm looking over, and again, we're the only ones in the restaurant, and the phone rings. It's the guy's phone. He looks at it, and I could hear him mouth it. I mean, he's only 20 feet away. He goes, "It's my wife." So he goes like this. He takes the call, and then the woman gets up to go get some ketchup while he talks. And so it's the first time she actually turns, and I can see her face. You know who it was? See what I just did there? I'd already shared 3 things that gossip hurts and 2 ways to control gossip. So some of you are already thinking, oh, sermon's about over. You put your phone back in your pocket, you close your notebook, you're ready to leave. I could see I was just kind of losing your attention. Start a little juicy gossip? I had you right here. Now I'm going to tell you her name, because I wasn't ever at Arby's. I made that whole thing up. But aren't we so quickly drawn into a little juicy story? Luke 6:31, it's also Matthew, the golden rule, says, do for others what you'd want them to do for you. And I guarantee you don't want anybody talking about you. It'd be awesome if we could take the challenge. Last verse, just a reminder of Ephesians 2:10. We are God's masterpiece. So is everybody else, by the way. So let's respect them as such instead of put them down. We are God's masterpiece. He has created us anew in Christ Jesus so we can do the good things he planned for us long ago. We hear about good things. We're not here about complaining and criticizing and lying and gossiping. We're created anew when we come into a relationship with Jesus to do good things. And I really think the door is thrown wide open to those good things when we watch our tongue, keep our mouth shut, and stay out of trouble. And when I close my big fat mouth, it's probably the first biggest step I can take to doing the good things God created me to do. So one of these weeks may have touched you more than the other, but certainly we have the opportunity to close our mouths, stay out of trouble, but beyond that, then, be part of doing good things for the kingdom of God. So just as we close today, I'd like to pray for all of us, and even as we let's bow our heads and pray right now. But I'm going to ask before I pray, just as you think with your eyes closed and as we bow our heads together. Maybe one of these 4 weeks really hit home with you, and you just sit there a little uneasy going, I wish I could do something about this. Because complaining or criticizing or lying or gossiping is just down deep a part of you. So no one looking around, because then we're talking and gossiping. Just with your eyes closed. I'd love to close in prayer specifically for some who might really be struggling with something specific. So if you would say, Trent, please pray for me, would just slip your hand up quick. And I will just do that. Just slip your hand up quick. Anyone say, I would, yep. We share scriptural truth because it's true. And we know that if we trust God with our mouth, we'd be more at peace, and he could use us so much more. Thank you for your courage in that response. Father, I pray especially for those who have just raised their hands with something specific on their heart and mind this morning. They're turning to you and say, Lord, help me deal with X, Y, Z, whatever it is. Would you give them the courage to follow through on that, Lord? May these messages still be burning in their hearts months from now. If they need to go back and listen to one, they set aside time to do that. If they need to go to somebody and say, hey, I really made a commitment to work on my complaining, would you give them a person, Lord, that would be really encouraging and supportive and help them in that journey? And for all of us, Lord, help us watch our tongue, close our mouths, and stay out of trouble. Again, it just opens the door to so many positive things and avoids so much hurt. Give us all the courage, Lord, to trust you, to be the masterpiece you created us to be, to really, truly become a new person that does the good things you plan for us to do. In Jesus' name, amen.